Hi everyone, this is Brad here. In today's demo, we're going to go over a really powerful tool within MetaField, and that's what we call a discrepancy report. This could also be referred to as kind of a project summary non-compliance report. Basically just an overall project summary that captures a lot of issues that might need to be resolved. So here's an example that I've created where at the top of our screen, it's disclosing it's a summary report and that there are currently 19 open discrepancies. One of them has been closed, and then a total of 20. Now, the key here is that these discrepancies that you're looking at could have been sourced from multiple different types of services. So here one came from an anchor bolt inspection, something like this is from a daily field report. This is from an environmental work order. And so what we have here is a whole bunch of open ones near the top. And as they get closed out, if we scroll down here a little bit, you can see, I think I have one of them that said, yep, so then here's going to be our closed discrepancies. So you can see the status is now closed, it was fixed by who and when, that type of thing. This certainly can be configured. So if you don't like exactly what you're seeing right now, there's some flexibility around that. But what we want to at least kind of get to is how can you take advantage of this? What are the steps? I will say this is probably something that might be a little bit more on the advanced level. So if you're in need of help after you go through this with me, please don't hesitate to reach out. There's some moving parts, but hopefully this at least kind of gets you going in the right direction. So let's kind of start from the beginning and really, where is there value in this? Well, the big thing is when you are looking at a project, and I'm just going to kind of take a shortcut into quality control, right? This is where you're going to be doing a lot of your review. Well, one thing that sometimes doesn't get noticed right away is that there's a button right here at the top of your screen called Discrepancy Report. Now keep in mind, I have a bunch of various forms here that have been built so that they do track discrepancies. I can notice that there's a few buried here that have some open ones and some closed ones. But what we want to point out here is that inside of quality control, if you click this button, this is going to bring you to a screen where it is going to summarize all of the discrepancies or non-compliance items that have been logged on this project. So you can see that a lot of them have come from different types of activities. And it's right here where you can create that summary report that I started off with. Again, you can finalize this and issue it to your client, just like any other report. So again, maybe I just do a quick preview here. Take a look at it. As soon as it loads, there we go. So here it is. Right, so you're disclosing discrepancies, and you can have the system auto track and auto assign numbers, things like that, to make sure non-compliance items or discrepancies get resolved. So how do we set this up? That's the real question, right? So let's go ahead and kind of begin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new form that kind of follows the formula to build this out. So what I want to do before that is really show you though where this discrepancy report comes from. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up administration, and the first thing that we're going to take a peek at is we're going to go underneath activity, and we're going to open up this area called search results display. And if you've never been to this area before, this is a very powerful area where you can configure columns and filters and many different things throughout the system. So what we're going to do here though is we're going to click this guy called discrepancy report. Okay, so as I click that, then down here are my area fields. Now what I want to do is we can customize this a little bit, but we might get to that a little bit later on. What I want to do though is when I'm building new forms that I want to track discrepancies on, I want to reference these system names, such as discrepancy number, discrepancy status. You'll see what I mean here in just a moment when we start building out our form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep us on this page. I'm going to go up to my tabs, and I'm just going to duplicate my tab to create a secondary one to work with. So we're going to come back to this screen, but again, I want you to kind of remember we're going to work with these system names, okay? So let's move on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a form that I want to track discrepancies on, okay? So you can certainly create a new one. I think I'm going to work with an existing one here in this example. Let me see. Yeah, let's just go. I got one right here called a can narrative form. The name doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and use it here. So I got a couple fields already added. Don't worry about those right now. We're just going to kind of start with a new. I'm basically going to say I want to use this form to track discrepancies. So how would I go about doing it? My approach first would be to do this. We're going to come up here. We're going to click Add Field. And I just want to pose the question to the technician to say, is there a discrepancy? Yes or no? That's kind of the first approach. So I'm going to say, is there a discrepancy? Okay. And we're just going to make this a yes or a no, just like that. It's very simple to start off with, okay? The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a data grid. And this is going to allow me to log multiple discrepancies within one particular form if I want to. So the next step is we are going to come over here and we're going to click Add Field. And I'm just going to call this a discrepancy log. You could call it a discrepancy table. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to call it a discrepancy log. And I'm going to choose data grid. And I think maybe I'll add some helper text. Something like this. We'll say click to log discrepancies, right? Okay, we're going to go ahead and hit save. So now that I have my data grid, it's basically like a table, right? But we got to add fields to this table. So let's open up our discrepancy log. And what we're going to do here are some critical steps, okay? So I first want to add what we call our discrepancy indicator field. So I'm just going to call it that. I'm going to say discrepancy indicator. And again, we're going to make this a yes or a no. And I'm going to add some settings. The very first one is going to be this. I want to choose discrepancy indicator. This is the first key element, okay? So we're going to hit save. I'm going to call that good. And I think maybe we'll add some helper text. We're going to say select yes to confirm discrepancy. Okay, so we're going to call that good. Let's hit save. All right, now let's see what this looks like so far. Okay, I always kind of like to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into field, and we're going to take a look at the form that I'm working on as if I were a field technician. So I'm going to go open up my form here and see what we got going on. Again, here's some fields that were already there when I first started this. This is really kind of where I started. So there's my question. Is there a discrepancy? Now I got some cleanup to do. What I really want to do is make sure that this pops up only if I say yes. So let's make some adjustments to this. Okay. So we're going to come back. Let's get out of here. I'm actually going to open up another tab. This is just my preference of building this out. We're going to go into admin. We're going to locate the form again that we're working with. And I'm just going to do a very simple visualization rule at my discrepancy log. Okay, so we're going to come here and click edit. I'm going to come to visualization. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, grab my question here, right? These are all the fields in the background, the system names. Okay, see how is there a discrepancy? That's what I want to use. Basically want to say if this equals yes, I want it to display. Okay. Now again, let's just check it out, make sure we're doing this right. So I'm going to go back to field, to my form. I just clicked my different tab. Remember, I have multiple tabs open. I'm going to refresh my screen here. Let's take a look at it. Okay. So now so far I got, is there a discrepancy? The technician flags this to yes. Now I got my discrepancy log and I can click this. So here's a case where I can toggle this over to yes, and I'm going to start to add more information here. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to come back here. And again, keep in mind, as you build this out, this is kind of why I said it was a little bit advanced, right? So we're going to come back to this screen. Okay. And I'll even start from the beginning to show you where we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Admin, Activity, Search Results Display, Discrepancy Report. So as I build out my fields here on my form, I want to match the system name that I'm seeing right here. Okay, so we're going to kind of use this as a reference. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to come up to my other tab, right? So we're going to come to my other tab and we're going to go, sorry, wrong one. Go to this one. Okay, and again, if I was a little bit too fast for you, I'll start from the beginning. Go to Admin, Activity, Forms this time, because you want to select the form that you're working with. Okay. So let's open up our discrepancy log, and the first one that we're going to do is discrepancy number, right? So if I reference my other tab here, I scroll down, you can see there's a field called discrepancy number. I want to add that. So let's come over here, we're going to click Add Field, and I'm going to do the same exact thing, discrepancy number, and see how the system name now matches what we have back in this search results display field, discrepancy number. Okay, so let's go here, let's make this a number field, but we're going to do a couple of extra steps. I'm going to add some settings to it. I want to say auto generate only if visible, so we only want this number being created if there really is a discrepancy. I also want to create uniqueness. So in other words, I want to make it auto-generated by the project. So every time there's a discrepancy, I want to make sure it's numbered by the project. That's just my preference. There are other options here. Okay. And I think we'll call that, actually, no, we want to do one more thing. We want to make sure it's disabled, right? So the moment that somebody saves it, we want to make sure it's disabled because it's a discrepancy number. We want to make that unique. Okay. So I think that's good. We'll hit save. Okay. Let's move on. Let's add another one. We want to do the discrepancy description. Okay, so what is actually wrong out in the field? So again, if you have any questions, again, what you want to do is reference the description. I suppose I could do the status as well. Maybe I'll do the status first because that's the order. So we're going to come over here because discrepancy, you basically, does it open or is it closed, right? So let's do that. We're going to call it discrepancy status, and we're going to make it a pick list. We're going to provide options. Is it open? Is it closed? Okay. Now this is another key step here. These are going to be your discrepancy status indicators. So you want to make sure to add this. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab these two right here. So I'm going to say the discrepancy status open indicator is going to be tied to the open status. So basically I just connected this to this option. Let's do it again. For the closed indicator, tied to closed. There we go. Okay. So again, this what's going to happen here is this is going to be a dynamic form. So as a technician opens up a discrepancy, the system's going to be aware of it. And as they close it, it's also going to be aware of it that it's been resolved. Okay. So let's go ahead and add that. Let's do the description next. Okay, so we'll do discrepancy description. Okay, and then let's just do a text area, right? Tell me what's wrong with it. Give them some free text to be able to enter in what's wrong with the situation out there. And let's just pause there for a moment, right? So I'm working my way down. If we reference my other tab, right? I just clicked a different tab, search results display, discrepancy report, and basically just building this out. Okay. So let's see what happens right now. So I'm going to go into field and I'm going to save my form. I'm actually going to create something. Okay, so let's get out of here. Go back to the very beginning and we're going to go ahead and click field. We're going to go into activity and we're going to find the form that we're working with. So here it is. And yeah, I'll just say you did a rebar inspection, but this is what we're working with. Like, is there a discrepancy? Yes, there is. Discrepancy log. Here's my indicator. I'm going to toggle that to yes. Discrepancy number, that's going to be auto-generated. Status, I'm going to say is open, and I'm just going to say the rebar cured exposed. I'm just making something up, right? Of course, if we want to add another one, we can click add new record. And there's another one, but let's keep it simple for right now. So I'm going to hit next and just save this piece of data. We're not done yet, but we're going to save this piece of data. And now let's pause here and take a look at something. What I'm going to do now is put my project manager hat on. So I'm going to kind of just sneak my way into quality control. I believe it's this project here. Okay. So what we see is, so here's the form that I just filled out. You can see I have an open discrepancy. But what we want to do is click this guy. I'm going to click discrepancy report. So as I do that, you can now see that the system is aware that there is a discrepancy. So if I generate this report, this issue now is going to be on the discrepancy report. So you can see there it is. And when we first started out, some of these counts were a little bit different, right? Actually, I think I didn't select all of them. That's why it's a little bit different. Let's do all of them. So there we go. Okay, so now you can see there's my canned one, right? The one that we just filled out. I just have more records on here now. So it's part of it. But what we want to do now is be able to close it out, because eventually, you don't want to have a ton of open ones. We want to be able to close it out. So let's kind of finish what we started. So what we're going to do here is we are going to go back into administration and we're going to add a few more fields to our form. So let's go ahead and click canned narrative form and open up our discrepancy log. And this is where we're going to kind of finish this off. So let's keep going here. We're going to add a few more fields. We're going to say resolution date. So somebody who resolves this issue can actually tell the system when they resolved it. We're just going to pick today, but I'm actually going to take it a little bit extra, little extra step here. I only want to be able to expose resolution fields if somebody changes the status from open to closed. Okay, so I'm going to apply a visualization rule. So what we're going to say here is we're going to use the contain function, and we're going to say if the discrepancy status, remember anything in blue here are the fields that you've added in the background. That's all it is. And you can see there's my open and closed. So I'm going to say if the discrepancy status equals closed, that's what we want. We want this field to be exposed. And I actually like to do this. I'm just going to hit highlight. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to apply it to the next couple of fields as well. So resolution date. Let's add another one. Let's do resolution technician. Okay. And let's make this a pick list. I'm going to add some settings around this. I'm going to say we want this to source the technician that's logged in. So I'm going to come down to my users, that are in the system, because it's a pick list, right? We got to add values to it. So it's pulling all of the users in the system. But we also want to do a default value, and we're going to make it dynamic to the current user. That's me that's logged in. Okay. And then the last thing that we're going to do is add my visualization rule. And since I've already done it once, I'm just going to paste it in there. Okay. One more to do, and that is going to be the resolution description. How did you resolve it? Okay. So let's do one more. Resolution description. We'll do a text area. Let's make that open-ended, visualization. Paste that guy in there. Okay. So let's go ahead and hit save. All right, we're getting there. So now that we added a couple of extra fields, let's go back into the field module as if we were a technician sent out to resolve the issue that was originally logged. Okay, so let's open up field. We'll go into activity, and this is where it becomes valuable. So as we open up our activities, there's going to be basically a button here for technicians to be aware of what are all your open discrepancies on this project. So I can go ahead and click this, and now if we scroll down, here is my my canned narrative form that I filled. Let's go ahead and open it. Notice that we're back into this screen. I can open up this discrepancy log. In this, if I'm out here and I'm resolving this, I can now flip this to closed. Let's say I resolved it. Okay. And now I can tell the system I'm going to resolve it today. What did I do? You know, I grinded off the exposed rebar. Okay. And now I've resolved it. And I can just simply resave the record. Okay. So as we do that, what we want to do next is let's put our project manager hats on. I'm going to go back into quality control. I'm just going to kind of sneak my way to this project. Now you can see the status closed, but let's look at the discrepancy report. Okay, so as I do this, there's some more information here on the one that I just closed, right? There's the resolution, the date, all of the stuff. Let's hit preview. You know, I should do all of them. Hang on a second. I think, yep, I got them all. Okay, so let's just do a preview of the report. Okay, so now you can see that just dropped from 19 to 18. I've closed one of them. That was 4. I think it was 4. It should be, now it's 5. Let's scroll down a little bit, and you can see I should have, at the top, did I scroll by it? Yeah, there it is. I'm going to have some cleanup to do with the breaking of the pages, you can see. But either way, it's on there. And I'm going to show you how to clean this report up in just a second. Okay. But before I do that, I did notice something, and again, this is a little bit of an advanced demo. I'm going to offer a couple of extra tweaks to the way that we collect data in the system for the discrepancies. So what I mean by that is this. I'm going to go back to the form that I was just working with. So let's go ahead and click Field, Activity. Let's go to, let me go here real quick. So let's open up my canned narrative form and my discrepancy log. I'm going to take it an extra step further. What I want to point out is notice right here, I have the ability to edit the discrepancy description. Well, what if you want to lock that in place similar to this right here? Notice I can't edit the discrepancy number because that's kind of locked in. We might want that. There's a couple of extra other things here too. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go back into Form Designer. And so let's get out of here. We're going to go into Administration. And let's open up our form. Okay, so we're going to go back into the form in question. We'll go to my discrepancy log. And we're going to edit some of these things. So for discrepancy description, we're going to click Edit. And we're going to apply a setting to this. The one that I want to show you is this, disable after save. So if you apply that, again, that makes, the resolution technician not able to switch or change the original description of the discrepancy. It's going to be kind of locked in. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And then there's a few other things that I might recommend as well. If you ever have technicians that might copy, say, a previous technician's form that they filled out yesterday, if you want to strip away yesterday's results, such as like the date, there's going to be a clear upon copy value. So here's a very common one. If we go to date, you can add a setting to it called clear upon copy. Okay. Same thing here for the discrepancies. If somebody copies a form that has a discrepancy, you probably don't want them to be able to copy a discrepancy, right? If there actually isn't one, you don't want it carried over. So what you can do to these fields is hit clear upon copy, right? So I can show you. I might not do it to all of them, but I'll kind of show you what it does here in just a moment. Let's go to settings, clear upon copy, and move on. Okay, so I'm not going to do all of them, but it's a very valuable field. Now again, the reason that's there is if we go into field, and let's say I want to copy that same form that I just got done filling out, the way that you copy something is going to be right here. See where it says copy activity? So if I'm looking at this and I'm going to use it to carry over tomorrow's work, if I hit copy, why that's important is that it's not going to carry over the date. I happen to be doing this on the same day, that's why it's there. But if we go to our discrepancy log, you see how some of these are now cleared and this one's still available? Well, we didn't complete our exercise. We want to do that clear upon copy because we don't want to carry over the same results. So hopefully that makes sense. If it's not clear on that, I suggest reaching out to a representative or support to keep building on that idea. But that's important, right? Now, the last thing that I just want to draw kind of here to conclusion is where you can adjust this report, right? This is what we would be sending to the client. So let's go back to the very beginning. And again, what we want to talk about is the search results display area. So if we go into admin and we click activity, if we go to search results display, we're going to select this discrepancy report, right? So these are all of the fields that are going to be displayed on the report itself. In other words, this, okay? So let's remember this, these system names here. How do we get to customizing the deliverable? What we're going to do is we're going to open up the report. So I have a, there's an area here where if I go to reports and click report types, we have a report right here underneath activity called activity discrepancy. Let's go ahead and click edit here. As I do that, here is my discrepancy report. Okay, this is going to allow you to bring over your data across all of your forms into this format. Now notice you're going to have closed discrepancies and open discrepancies. Now they look the exact same. So again, these system names are the exact same system names that we saw in that search results display area. That's why it's so important. So these are going to be the same as well as these. Okay. The only difference here is that if you think about this deliverable, if you want to display all of your open discrepancies at the top, that's the reason there. So in other words, if I started over, if I kind of blew this whole thing up, right, let's just start over. Let's get rid of everything. Let's do that. Okay, we're just going to get rid of everything. Okay, so if I want my open discrepancies displayed at the top, let's just drag this over. I prefer to render this as a panel. That's just my own preference. It's more of kind of a list. So you can see here, there's going to be some fields that I can work with. Okay. So here are all of my open discrepancies. Now you don't have to have all of them. So I can get rid of some of these things. delete some of them, right? Like that. And then I'm going to do the same exercise with my closed. So if I bring over my closed, under that as a panel, okay? And again, I like to do things like this. I like to add some colors just for separation. It's a little dark. You know, closed, maybe green for closed. Open, we'll do red, right? And then next, maybe I'll add some data at the top. Okay, so I'm going to come over to my elements. Maybe I'll drop a panel in there so that I can put in a label. Come over to content, something like this. Call it project summary discrepancy report. Okay, make that bold. Align it, maybe make it bigger, that type of thing. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to my data sets and maybe I will grab discrepancies counts, right? So maybe I'll do something like this. Let's bring over another panel, drop it right there, and we'll do open discrepancies. Okay, we'll put that one there. Actually, let's do this instead. Let's pull it out of that. Drop it right there. There we go. So we'll do my open discrepancies. Let's do closed. Oh, hang on a second. I think I grabbed the one. Let's do, there we go, closed. And then do total. Okay, so on top of each other. And then I'm going to rearrange these so they're all next to each other. So what I like to do is just come over here, select the panel, click the width. We're just going to do it in threes, 33, 33. We'll make this one 34. Just like so. And that's going to be kind of it, right? So we just simply, and maybe I'll make this orange just to kind of show you something here. We'll make it purple just for fun, okay? We'll make it purple. I'll click save. And now what we're going to do is take a look at the report. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, let's go into quality control. We'll click activity. This is it right here. So we're in quality control where all of our data is coming. Let's click the discrepancy report button. Here's our report. Let's do a preview of it real quick. And now we should see some changes. There we go, right? So now our data is there. So that's kind of the general of it. Like I said, there's probably some parts that you might have some questions on. It's not meant to be an exact, this is how you build. There still is going to be some flexibility that you can leverage. So if this does interest you, I recommend reaching out to us because we do have some more tips on how to build this to kind of better suit all of your forms that you use. But again, really just kind of a little bit of an intro, a little bit of a deep dive. But again, you might find use for this, and if you have questions, reach out. I'd be happy to help. But anyway, thanks for listening for now, and more to come. Last thing, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but I always like to call attention to this. The version that I just demoed on was 2023.4. So if what you just watched doesn't match exactly what you are working with today, might be that a different version situation is happening. So just keep that in mind. But again, thanks for listening, and hopefully this has been helpful.